Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, a comedian and narcoleptic, and this is a podcast where I invite people into my bed to talk about sleep, dreams, comedy, and life. My guest today is Vickie Eisenstein. She is a woman of many talents as a writer, actor, comedian. She has a very popular YouTube channel, and she also performs in improvised Jane Austen. Let's get started with the show.
Sarah.
Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. This is Sleeping with Sarah with Vickie Eisenstein.
Hi, I'm Vickie.
How'd you sleep last night, Vickie?
Not too well.
Yeah? Yeah? Did you stay out?
I feel so weird oriented like this. I'm a person who's always up. Like, I don't like sleeping. I don't sleep much.
You don't like sleeping at all?
Well, I don't like the process of going to sleep because it's hard for me. So I just don't really enjoy the whole bedtime routine or anything like that. And I'd rather just be up and playing. So yeah, I'm just on my computer all the time or a phone. And yeah, I'm not usually, when I'm like this, I'm usually like this. You know what I mean?
Ah, usually like you got your device in the bed.
Yeah, I'm on this, or I'm like this and there's a computer like here and I got myself propped up with a pillow. I'm not usually like this.
So bed is not usually bedtime's not relaxing for you.
No, my bed is my office. So yeah. You know, there's that famous economist, was it Keynes? Is that Keynes, I think?
Possibly.
Yeah, he's like the father of one of the branches of economics. But he would do everything from his bed. And he would, in the morning, he'd have like his servant or maid or whoever bring him his newspaper. He'd pick his stocks for the day, and that's how he made his millions. And then he'd work from his bed.
Wow. Well, I guess now with technology, my only thing is if I'm too comfortable, I'll just fall asleep, you know? But like...
That's not my problem.
Yeah, that's cool. So do you think you have, you have trouble sleeping? Do you think you have insomnia, or are you just, like, super ambitious? Because I know you do a lot of stuff.
I think just my brain's doing too much. And so the actual aspect of relaxing doesn't really happen. Also, I know I've read all sorts of tricks about like how you're supposed to think in order to fall asleep, and a lot of it, I've read things that are like, oh, you can't think in words, you have to like think with images, and that will actually let you fall asleep.
Oh.
So, and then I realized that from my youth, like,
from your youth?
Yes.
When you were a young gal.
Yeah, no, like when I was a little kid, even when I was like trying to fall asleep, what I would do is I would imagine myself in whatever book or movie I'd recently read or seen, and like I'd be the protagonist, and that was usually in the process of like being in that story and adventuring, that's how I would fall asleep. And I think that's a lot like the visualization thing. It's kind of like a meditation of sorts, I guess.
That's pretty cool, though. Yeah. Like, I used to play that, too. Like, I would go see a movie and be like, oh, I want to play that. So then I'd get together with my friends, and we'd act out what we remembered we thought. And that would just be, like, how we'd play. And I don't think kids do that anymore. It's kind of scary. Well, everyone's about computers and laptops and iPads. I don't know if kids play pretend anymore. I really hope they do.
Well, I tutored a kid because I do like SAT tutoring sometimes, and I tutored a guy who was working on his college essays, and he does like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff.
Oh.
So, people are still doing that old school type of role play game stuff.
Well, yeah, I guess that's role play, but we were just like, hey, we're going to play Cops and Robbers, or we're going to play Shipwrecked. We had a little, we had like a little place in the backyard. We'd pretend it was a ship and it crashed on an island, and like we'd have to like fend for ourselves and not get eaten by sharks.
Probably during kindergarten when they have like recess or whatever, they're doing that. But then the rest of their life they're on their iPad, I guess.
I know, man. I feel like we're maybe the last generation of people that got to have like childhoods that weren't so connected with everything.
Could be.
It's interesting. Like, did you grow up? Did your parents like let you run off and play like in the neighborhood with your other friends?
Yeah, of course. One time there was like a weird pedophile guy who came up to me, I think, but
oh no!
And we reported him to the police.
Stranger danger.
Yeah,
man.
Exactly. But other than that, I had a really ideal childhood, you know.
I was the one time the pedophile tried to get you to get candy in his van or something.
He was on a bike actually, but He wanted me to go to his place, I think, and stuff. And I was just like, no, this seems weird and wrong. I have to go. Bye.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I don't remember anything. Like, I lived in a really small neighborhood when I was really young, like 3 streets until I turned like 7 or 8. And then we moved it to a big neighborhood, but we were only the 3rd house on our street. So there was like 1 or 2 other kids. And we would just go off, because they kept building houses on our street. We would just go and play in the houses while they were being built.
That's so ridiculous. And you would just kind of sneak on there?
Yeah, and we used to guess which room would be what room. Like, oh, this is going to be the bedroom. Or this is going to be... We'd make up scenarios. And it was so... Looking back, that is so not safe at all. Like, we're in a construction
you might have gotten,
zone.
like, impaled or something.
Oh, God. But the thing is, that's the risk of childhood adventures.
It is. And, like, that used to be a normal acceptable risk of childhood, you know, like, oh, we lost that one to a model home accident. Like, all right, the next of the 6 children is in line for inheritance.
Well, that's why, like, in the 1700s, 1600s, the people would have, like, 7 kids, because you'd be like, oh, you're gonna lose 2 to polio or whatever, like.
Well, when I was in Korea, like, you still have, like, the grandpa generation will call, like, the little grandkids, they call them dogs or whatever until they're, like, around 2 or something, because, like, childhood mortality, like, infant mortality used to be so high, like, you wouldn't want to get attached to a baby.
So they didn't call him a name? They didn't give babies...
Well, they give the baby a name, but, like the older people, like, you know, they're just like, oh, yeah, little dog, or whatever, to the kid, because you don't want to get attached to it. Yeah.
Because it was so common?
Yeah, like, the first year birthday is still really huge. It's, like, the hugest birthday, first year and 60th year, because those are the years that are like, wow, you made it. Like, because so many kids would die
survived.
before 1. Yeah, and usually people would die before 60 if they're old, you know, back in the day. So, yeah, like, it's kind of funny. I love different cultures.
That's cool. So how long do you live in Korea?
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah.
Can you say some stuff in Korean to me?
네, 무슨 얘기 하고 싶은데?
I have no idea what that means.
I was just asking you what kind of talk do you want to have?
This is cool. My brother actually, he went to Korean school. He's not Korean at all.
Like, what do you mean by Korean school?
Like the school, like the Saturday school, like in high school, one of his best friends is Korean. And to preserve the culture, they make kids go on Saturdays to learn the language.
Like
and
Hebrew school.
Yeah, kind of like Hebrew school. So, but because one of his best friends was Korean and he wanted to have class with him. So he was the only white boy in Korean school because the rest are like forced by their families.
So funny.
And he's like, Mom, I want to go to Korean school with Juan. And Mom was like, okay.
That's so funny.
And then, but I remember one time my mom was sick. My mom was sick and my dad was out of town. And so I was the only one that could go to his like recital or something. So I went to his recital and watched his like Christmas recital for Korean school, and the entire thing is all in Korean, and I didn't understand a word of it, and I just saw these like pitying looks from like because a lot of the parents don't speak English, and so there was one like older sister to somebody that was like, oh, this is what they're saying. I was like, thank you, because I felt
you had no idea
lost.
what was going on. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, when I used to do TV work in Korea, I felt like that too. I was like, what is going on? But then I was supposed to know what was going on.
You were like a Korean pop star, right?
Not like, I mean, I guess I would say like TV personality rather than pop star, because I never did music.
So like a Juliana Rancic kind of thing?
I guess, yeah. Like, if you, like, very D-list celebrity. I was just on a talk show that had a lot of foreign girls on it. It was like a panel of us, and then like maybe 5 Korean celebrities they would have each episode. So it might be like the top musicians or models or actors. And it was hosted by this comedian, MC Nam. And then, like, basically they would ask us all these questions about like our cultures in our respective countries. And they would ask us, like, what we thought about, like, Korean men or about kimchi or about this or that. Oh, wow. And, of course, you always had to be flattering to Korea because they would, like, cut it out if you weren't.
Oh, wow. Wait. So really, they're, like, oh, yeah, forget about that, man. Like, because you don't have freedom of speech there.
You have freedom of speech, but you also have ratings, and people aren't going to watch it if you're trashing Korea all the time.
Oh.
So you, like, in order, like, I mean... Koreans have a lot of pride. They have a huge amount of pride in their country, and a lot of that is in respect to the fact that they're kind of like the Poland of Asia, and that they're constantly getting invaded by China and by Japan throughout history. So they've always been kind of like the scrappy underdog, and they've always like had to have a huge amount of pride in you know, their country and their culture and all that. So like I could be like, oh yeah, you know, kimchi's too spicy for me or whatever, and that's fine, we can make fun of it. But then you can't, like, you can criticize their culture and, like, what their ways of doing things too much. You could be like, oh, yeah, it's a cultural difference, and the way that you guys do this thing with, you know, the way that you handle office culture is kind of weird and I don't like it, but that is a cultural difference. You couldn't actually say that's ruining your productivity and that's the reason why you have so many issues in international. You couldn't get too much yet. You know?
Well, I feel like most of this, you know, like pop culture shows don't really diss on America, really. They make fun of, you know, things that are happening clearly, like in our political climate right now. But yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. But when I went to Southeast Asia, I went to China, Cambodia, and Vietnam. I remember grabbing some papers in China and like trying to see like even the translations, like the things weren't exactly always true. Like the news that they said were news.
The biased filter that they see things through.
And it's really crazy that there's like no Google or was it like that in Korea? Was there no Google or Facebook?
Oh no, it's not like China where they have strict government censorship or anything. Like they can read U.S. news, they can read any of that. They can, like, YouTube's very popular there. It's not like China where they have their own homegrown video service and their homegrown like search engine that they try to like, you know, make into the major competitor. A lot of that is like just like nationalistic mercantilism and stuff, you know. But Korea is very global, and it's had to be like their whole economy is based on exports and based upon the fact that like, okay, they have to have like a sort of cultural product to export in order to survive.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's also fascinating.
So did you just come over there and someone discovered you and were like, hey, we want to put you on TV, and you stayed? Or was it, how did you get over there?
Oh, it's so crazy. Well, I mean, like, I majored, I've had, like, a weird circuitous thing. I used to be, like, the shyest person possible. And,
I cannot imagine that at all.
Yeah, no, it's still kind of hard for me to talk to strangers a little bit. Like, I have to put on, like, an acting face, you know? But that was the thing, is, like, nobody taught me how to make small talk. Like, my parents aren't big small talkers, and, like, I just never learned, so I never felt comfortable talking, like, during classes, like when the parent-teacher conference came up, my parents always heard, we just wish she would talk during class. She's very smart, but she doesn't talk once during class. Tell her to try and talk once a class.
Oh, wow.
You know?
You were that shy.
I was that shy.
Do you know why? Just like...
I've always been that way. Like, that's kind of... It's still hard for me. I have to force myself a lot of times. But what helped was, you know, I took Latin in high school, so it's a dead language. I never had to use a language for anything. But then I took Chinese in college, and I learned how to make small talk. I learned, like, okay, there's a script I can follow.
So you didn't know about small talk until you learned, like, a foreign language? Like
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
And so it was like, okay, and then I knew when I'm in Chinese class, when I'm trying to learn Chinese, I put on my foreign language hat, as Su Lao Shi always said. She would say, put on your hat. And so I would put on my foreign language hat, and then I wasn't Vickie, I was Ai Wei Li. And then it was okay.
Ai Wei Li. That is such a fun name. Ai Wei Li.
Ai Wei Li.
Ai Wei Li.
Because my last name's Eisenstein, so they go with the first syllable of that for the family name, I. And then for my name, they always gave for all the Victorias the same one, so Wei Li. So that's what it was.
Ai Wei Li. So then if it was like then it'd be like, if it started with like an S, it'd be Sai Wei Li, or...
Yeah, like, I mean, usually what they do in Chinese is they'll find, you know, a syllable or a character in the Chinese language that is approximate to your last name, and then you can just have that, or you can, like, do a transliteration, and they'll usually do that with famous people, too. Like... I don't remember any actual famous people, like what their transliteration was, but like it is, yeah, like
that's cool.
Bar Gates, something like that. So anyway, yeah, so like I learned, okay, yeah, I can have this talk. If I ask, you know, how's the situation in Myanmar, then I know that person will just say, not good, and it's great. You know, like, I still remember that's like the airport conversation. 缅甸怎么样? 不好. So, yeah.
Sounds hilarious. Did you have trouble, like, keeping a straight face the way people, like, at first? Like,
well, I mean, I had a long time, like, because it took me 2 months to get the tones, because it's a tonal language, and how you say a tone will change the meaning. So, ma, 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 ma. That's 4 different words.
Wait, what?
Ma, 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 ma. That's 4 different words.
What does that mean? What do they mean?
Hold on. So, ma.
Old mom, young mom?
No. But one of them is mother, actually. I think the first one, the flat tone, ma, that's mother. Ma, a rising tone, is hemp. Ma is a horse. And then ma is to scold somebody. And
Whoa,
then,
so you could say, like, ma. You could say, like, mom scolds me.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
So it would be like, ma, 我 is me. So,
妈妈我
对，你说的对. You said it right. That's good. Yeah, so there's like a Chinese joke that like a lot of like students would always say, because they're always like, oh yeah, this is a funny thing that happened to a foreigner. So like a foreigner goes to order 水饺, which is the like the dumplings in like a soup or something, you know?
Oh, yeah.
A boiled dumpling. And so they order a 水饺, but they say it wrong to the pretty waitress, and of course it's a guy saying it. So the guy says it wrong to the pretty waitress, and he asks for a 睡觉, which means to sleep. So it's like he asked to sleep with her.
Yeah. 睡觉. That's
Yeah.
funny.
So like, I mean, that's the really hard part, and that's the part that really trips up a lot of people. So grammatically, I would say Chinese is one of the easiest languages to learn. The grammar is incredibly simple. They don't even conjugate their verbs for like a past and a future. Yeah. You add on like a word here, and then you might add a particle at the end to show a change of state, but you don't change the actual form of the word. So the real thing that trips people up is the tones, you know?
Wow.
So that I was like crying. I was crying at one point because I was like, I'm never going to get this. In fact, when I graduated, Su Lao Shi came up to me and she was like, you know, I honestly didn't think you were going to get it.
Wow. But it always feels, but teachers only say that after you get it. They never tell the kid that doesn't get it, hey, I was right.
You can't tell them that. No way.
That'd be so funny, though. You, like, fail, be like, I told you were going to get it, and you didn't.
But that's the thing, is I've always been that person who, at the start of something, is incredibly shitty. And then when it gets to, like, the intermediate level, that's when I, like, take off and I excel. So, that's like, cool. When it comes to language learning or anything like that, my brain is like, I'm not oriented towards this, cannot get the pieces. And then once it catches on, my learning curve shoots up.
That's great.
I just know that for anything that I try to apply myself to, and so I try not to judge myself as harsh as I do. Inevitably do.
Well, I think it's good that you don't, like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And so... Man.
Wait, anyway, yeah, so then, I mean, China's great, but it's really tough to live there as a foreigner, like, as a non-national and stuff, and it's just, like, a lot of Westerners have a problem with that. Cultural difference is so jarring, and my best friend was Korean American, so she got me into, like, Korean pop music and Korean dramas and things.
Oh.
So when I graduated from college, I actually was in China. I went to Korea for a summer term, and then I was in China for the fall. And while I was in China for the fall of senior year, that's when they did all the interviews for, like, jobs and stuff. And I originally, like, I mean, I was an economics major. I was in the student-run mutual fund, Cornell Investment Club.
Oh, wow.
Like, I was a vice president. Like, I was thinking banking. I was thinking, like, investment banking. This was 2007, like right before the banking crash and all that. Yeah. And so, I mean, I was thinking that, but I missed all the interviews for the banks. And so I came back and I was like, crap. And then I realized too, I mean, like, I interviewed with like Goldman and McKinsey and stuff, and I realized I didn't really want the job once I was interviewing for it. I was like, damn it, I worked 4 years and I realized I don't want this job. So I was like, okay, you know what, I really want to go back to Korea.
So this was before 2008 then, before the crashes and all that.
I graduated in 2008 in the spring. And then so I went to Korea, and while I was over in Korea, like, partying, getting drunk, and writing textbooks, then I'm getting there. Like, the all the whole Lehman Brothers thing happened, and I had friends who were on Wall Street who were like in the job and then out of the job within a month. You know what I mean? Like, because the first people to get the axe were, of course, the new hires. Yeah,
that's crazy.
So yeah,
you kind of that was a good choice then, the way that worked out. For you.
Yes, I don't know. Like, I really don't know, because on the one hand, it's like, I guess I wouldn't have learned that, okay, I want to perform, but on the other, I'd have a little nest egg built up.
Hey, we all need more nest eggs,
it's
right?
True. So I get to Korea. I had originally thought I would be studying in the morning. I'd be learning Korean intensively at Yonsei University, and then in the afternoon and the evening, I was going to be working at an English institute teaching, is what I thought. I get in the car from the airport with the owner of the English Institute. They call him Hagwons there. And the guy who runs the Hagwon goes to me. He goes, "Okay, you're smart. You went to Cornell." I was like, what am I admitting to? What? What are you trying to get me on here? What's the trick? And he goes, "Okay, you're going to write our textbook series." I was like, I signed up to teach, but okay.
So you signed up to teach, like, English abroad, and then they wanted you to write a textbook?
Yeah, he wanted me to write their textbook series. So I would get up, because I was located about an hour north of Seoul, so I would get
I've been to that airport, but I have not been.
Incheon is great.
Yeah, that airport's great, but I was only there for 5 hours. I was like, man, if only my layover was like 9 or 10, I would have gone out into the city and done something, but...
Well, nobody wants to be in Incheon. That city's not...
Oh.
Yeah, you want to be in Seoul.
No, I was in Seoul. That's what I said. Seoul.
No, but their airport's located in Incheon.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a trek. I once, after a really drunken night, I believe that was my birthday night, and the next morning I was in Incheon, and I called my friend crying, "I'm in Incheon, I don't want to be here." And my friend was like, "Nobody wants to be in Incheon. Why are you in Incheon?" I'm like, "I don't know." I mean, I know, but why?
Oh, that's funny. It's like in New York, you end up in Jersey or something.
Yeah,
like what am I doing in Jersey? I don't know what the Chicago equivalent of that is. I think it's more like who you're next to versus...
I think it's like Rockford. Why am I in Rockford?
Rockford, yeah. Oh, yeah, Rockford. That'd be pretty bad.
That's a place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really far.
I was doing a copywriting job, and one of the ladies there, she was pregnant, and her husband, is a firefighter, and so they were going to someone's party that they knew in Rockford, and she was like, "Under no conditions will my baby be born in Rockford. None!" Like,
wow.
For a whole week, this was all we heard about.
She's like, "I'm not having my baby here. Yeah. No matter what." I mean, it's not like it's a different country. It's just like, wow.
So, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so anyway, I was in Ilsan, which is about an hour north, and it was constructed, actually, as kind of like the city that if North Korea attacked Seoul, it would have to go through Ilsan.
Oh.
So I was in that barrier city there, but it's really nice. A lot of the people, like, in the 80s was when Gangnam was built up. Which from Gangnam Style you probably know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the 80s, Gangnam was built up, and I think in like the 90s
it's pronounced Gangnam?
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 Yeah, it actually means like river south, because the Gang River is right, or not the Gang, the Han River is like right in the middle of Seoul, and so it divides north and south. So Nam is south, so it's south of the river. So a bunch of the affluent families moved like in a suburban way to Ilsan. And then Ilsan never really kind of took off, and so a bunch of them moved back to Gangnam. But anyway, so Ilsan's still there, and I was teaching there. And by teaching, I mean writing textbooks. So I'd be like going at like 5 a.m. I'd be getting up to go study Korean. I'd get back at 1. I'd finish at 1 and get back for like to do my job from 3 until midnight, because the English institutes did not have the laws at that time, and so they were open until like 12, because it's so competitive and they have education fever, and they're like, the other kids going to like these 5 institutes to learn like English and piano and blah blah blah, so my kid's gonna do all that too. So
3 to midnight? That's crazy.
Yeah, like, can you imagine these kids though? They're like so young, and they're being forced to study until midnight, and like they'd be falling asleep in class, they'd have bad attitudes. Like, I felt so bad for them. It's like, let your kid play,
Wow, that's so crazy. Wow, that's insane because, man, like, I remember, like, I went to a private school, kindergarten through third grade, and it was, like, a Catholic one, and it was, like, I was in third grade, and I was getting, like, 2 hours of homework a night, and my parents were like, no, we're going to take you to a different school.
You would think so, right?
And then they switched me to a different school that was also private, but it was very hippie. It was like, oh, you go on vacation. My parents were like, when's our homework due? Oh, no, it's an experience. It's a life experience. They don't need...
Is that like a Montessori?
Yeah, no, it was like it was a middle school, you know?
Oh, okay.
It was like I switched in 4th grade, and they're like, it was like no dress codes, very open, no walls in the school.
No walls.
Okay, this is hard to explain. Okay, imagine a little amphitheater, right? All right, this is a main area amphitheater. We'd have like morning meetings. There's like 30 people per class, per grade, like 12 people a class.
Yeah.
So there's like this amphitheater in the middle, and then there's like these other little sections, and there's like little, I don't know how to say, they just kind of found different ways to section it off.
Yeah.
And then there were these big structures on either side of at the ends of the amphitheater. And we called them pods. It was like there's 2 levels. So there were stairs that went up, and on top there's a little classroom.
Okay.
And then like underneath were like the bathrooms. But then there were like all these little classrooms separated by like rolling cubbies and random things. So the idea is like if you stood in the middle at the amphitheater, you could hear all these different things going on. It was a very weird open school, but it was awesome.
That is it's unique.
It was extremely unique. St. Francis and Goshen, Kentucky. It was pretty cool. But yeah, they were very much like, oh, you know, have your life experience, enjoy that. You don't need to do homework. And they were like very hippie. Like you would get effort grades on top of your grade. So you could get like a D, but like a 5 for effort. So that means you like tried really, really hard. Or you could get an A or like a 1 for effort. That means like this person probably needs to be challenged more. So they would do that. So it was kind of very cute. I thought that school, looking back, I remember so much more from that school than I did from my high school. I went to public high school.
Yeah.
So I remember so much more from all my classes there and the things that we did. And I really appreciate it now as an adult. But the difference is like night and day in terms of what, the one school was Catholic, very, you know, like stringent, like tough. And I think
that's what they're finding too with like when you look at, is it Finland has the best, they consistently score at the top of international tests, their students do, and they have a lot more of like, let's just go out into the woods and like experience that, and it is a very more open educational experience, whereas like, you know, and then of course under them comes like all like China and like all these like crazy studiers, but it does show that like, okay, you don't necessarily have to be in your little box the whole time.
No, we used to do that. We used to go on like nature walks, and we'd have like, another thing I remember we built a like we would collaborate classes, so we'd like have an art class collaborating with our social studies, so like we were studying the Vikings, so we like built a Viking ship, and then we burnt it to have a Viking funeral to like learn about like so we did crazy stuff like we reenacted World War II with water, but because one of our teachers owned a big thing of property, so at the end of our 6th grade year we separated into 2 half groups, our class of 36, half is the north, half is the south, and half is the north, half is the south. We reenacted the different battles with water balloons and water guns.
That's
amazing.
And
that's how we learned about the Civil War.
I love it. So we did a little Civil War reenactment thing too at one point. Yeah. And I remember you had to like, if you know, you had to be honest that if you kind of died, you would like lay down on the field. But everybody would just lay down and be like, I couldn't get up.
They would just pretend.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun though. But yeah, I think that it's tough when people are that so how did you sound like you got crazy. 5 hours of sleep in Korea?
I was like never sleep. I never sleep. It's fine. So anyway, but that was like really taking a toll on me because it was like no downtime, and so I ended up just quitting that because I didn't want to be writing for 8 hours a day. Like that wasn't what I'd signed up for. Like I wanted to like maybe teach for 5 and then, you know, live a life. So I was like, all right, I'm quitting that and I'll just do the student thing full time and I'll see if I can find part-time work. Meanwhile, I'd applied to be on this talk show that I actually got on, and that's how I ended up, that was my entryway to it all. And so they saw my application and they liked me, and they saw that I said that I knew one of the other girls who was on the show, And so in the interview, I didn't realize I was doing it, but I kind of like gave them all the dirt on her.
So were you like, what were you saying?
Well, no, just like because I'd gone partying with her and we had gone to this booking club. And so they were kind of like,
what's a booking club?
Okay.
Is it like a strip club? A sex club? No.
It's got a lot to do with like Korean culture. So like the Korean culture is an introduction-based culture. So like traditionally, if you see someone on the street or something, you don't get to know them. You have to be introduced to them to get to know them, you know? Like, it's just the way that, like, traditionally their relationships work. So, especially for women and men, right? So, working off of that model, the idea of, like, a booking club is that, you know, girls and guys will go there separately, and then, like, so I might go with, like, 3 or 4 girlfriends, and then like the waiters will see us and they'll be like, okay, we can bring you to that table of guys over there. And so the ladies get brought around by the waiters to tables of guys, or to like the private rooms if it's like VIP room or whatever. And it's a nice way to not have to pay for any drinks.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I went with a couple of girls, a couple of foreign girls, a couple of Korean girls, including this other girl who was on the show. And, you know, we had some fun. And then in my interview, I mentioned it, and they were like, wait, what? You went to a booking club? Tell us all about it. And I was like, yeah, sure. Okay, I got drunk. What? So, yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I ended up on the show. And it was crazy because it was like, you know, I'd been studying Korean for a while, but it still wasn't like, you know, talk on TV for a while, like, good, you know, but I had to. So I would put behind my name tag these little Post-it notes of, like, what I should be talking about. And that's the thing, too, is a lot of people don't realize, like, talk shows are all scripted out. Like, everything you're going to say, like...
Wow.
Yeah, so it was interesting. It was fun. But it was cool because it opened up a lot of doors, and I got to, like... you know, host a travel show, and I got to, like, be on random cooking shows and all sorts of stuff. So it was definitely worth it.
And that's how you started doing your YouTube, like, so then you came back here and you wanted to continue to do stuff? Is that...
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of been kind of crazy, and I've been all over. Like, I went to LA for a year thinking, well, hey, look, doesn't everyone want to hire a girl who speaks Chinese and Korean? Like, that's my special thing. Not as in demand a skill as I thought, you know? So I was in LA for a year. It wasn't working out for me. I went back to Korea. So I did in kind of 2 chunks. And then, but before I went back to Korea, I was in Taiwan for a little bit. And that was a lot of fun. And I made some videos while I was there. That was my first YouTube experience, really. But then it was like, okay, this isn't working for me. You know, like, Asia just isn't the place. And my parents were freaking out because at that time, was it, I forget if that was right when Kim Jong-un had ascended to power. And I think, like, there was a lot of, like, okay, is he going to try and prove himself? Is he actually going to launch a missile at Seoul or something? Gotcha. And for the first time since I'd been in Korea, people were a little nervous about it because he was so unknown. It was like, we don't really know who he is. We don't know, you know, what his ruling style will be, and we don't know if he's dumb enough to actually press the button, you know? Wow. So my parents were freaking out, and they were like, if you want education, more education, we'll pay for it. Just please come back, you know? And I was like, oh, really? Ding, ding, ding. So I was like, all right. I knew at that time I wanted to do comedy because I'd been in a bilingual expat improv troupe. And so that was so much fun. And actually, a lot of those people are here in Chicago now.
Nice.
And yeah, so I knew I really wanted to do comedy. So I was like, I'll come back. I'll study at Second City in IO, and we'll see where it leads.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's my story. That's the longer version, but not the longest version.
Longest version will be in your book someday, right?
I'm thinking I should write a book, but I feel like I should get more famous first. Mm-hmm. Because, like, you can write it, but then not as many people will read it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So what's the point?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
I think about those things. It's like, when is the timing to do that? Because I've even noticed with my YouTube channel, like,
And you put, so for people that don't know, you want to say
I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/Vickie Eisenstein, my name, or just search Vickie Eisenstein and my channel will pop up.
I'll have a link.
Yeah, go to the links. And so, like, the thing is I've been steadily doing that for a little over a year now. I started last year, February, just with comedy sketches, and it kind of expanded. I didn't start as a YouTuber, but I became one. And when I started, I do these comedy sketches, and then I started getting into, like, okay, I'll do these tag videos or whatever where, there's a certain set of questions that you do, and then you tag people at the end, and then they have to do those same set of questions. So I would do those videos, and I did a lot that were kind of about me, and now those are buried way down in my past videos, and I have, 40 times the followers of what I had then, because, I started at nothing, right? And it's like nobody sees them. So it's like, oh, well, I made all that content about myself way back when, but people aren't seeing it now. So what was the point, you know? So it's like I could either just redo it, or I could re-release a video. That's kind of where you end up with that. So I think about that in terms of, like, with your career and, like, what you should do when you really do have to plan it out.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of I was like, this seems like something fun to do. I had the idea. The thing is that for, like, this podcast, I had the idea, and I've been toying around with it for a while, and someone's like, well, just do it, because one of my good friends is like, you know what, if you wait too long, someone else is going to come up with the idea and do it, and you might as well just go ahead and do it first.
Well, and why not do it? I mean, like, this is just, like, a fun thing, and it's like you have so many, like, talented friends, so why not include them in it,
Exactly. And it's kind of silly. I'm laying in my bed, and wow, that was fast.
We had a lot to talk about.
I know, man. Yeah. I have to have you back. We still got like 10 more minutes, but
Cool.
Wait, so I do want to go into this whole thing. You kind of like brush it off earlier. You're like, oh, I don't sleep ever, and you just kept talking. So are you like
get back to sleep?
Yeah. Wait, are you like? Do you take coffee all the time? Like, how is it that you aren't tired all the time?
I mean, I will go for a while. I tend to be a person who has, like, a cycle of, like, not sleeping for a while and then feeling really, really tired and horrible for a couple days and then crashing. And then I'll sleep for a bit. And by crashing, I mean I might sleep one night for 9 hours and then I'm back to, like, 7 or 6. I would say in general I average, like, about 6 hours a night. Like, so.
But you're ambitious. You like to get a lot of stuff done.
Yeah, that, and I mean, I think a lot of people these days were tech zombies, where it's like you're just up at night and that whatever the LCD screen is not good for you, like it keeps you up. So with that internet addiction and all of that, it's so hard to actually sleep.
Do you think you're addicted to the internet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, I'm on it constantly.
What are you most addicted to? Is it YouTube, Facebook, what? Tinder?
Yeah, I honestly, right now, like, just can't even with the whole dating thing. Like, I can't, hashtag can't even. I just, so, I mean, like, I'll go on there and I'll swipe a bit, and I tried the Bumble thing.
Oh, Bumble's weird, though, because, like, guys, I don't know, like, I didn't like Bumble. Tinder, I've only been out with, like, 2 people from Tinder, one that I'm kind of seeing, I guess, but we had, 80... We had, 80 mutual friends in common. That's
the thing. That's the only people that I end up going out with from it are the ones that we have mutual friends.
And then I double-checked with my friends to make sure he's a good guy. And, like, yeah, he's a great guy, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so then, like, I was like, cool. So then that kind of works.
I matched with someone, was it, like, a roommate or something of yours?
Who'd you match with?
I don't even know at this point. You know how you have, like, one conversation
Derek?
And then it, like, goes on? Like, I have no idea. You have to ask.
Derek, maybe?
I don't know.
Oh, I'll have to look at your phone. I'll have to see who it is, who your Tinder matches. And I'll still play it. Sometimes I'm just bored, and sometimes I'm just curious, like, what other people, like...
Well, here's the thing. I've gotten to the point where it's like, why invest time in that, which is so uncertain? In fact, the probability is so low that I'll actually find someone from that, that... Like, it makes so much more sense for me to invest time in networking or in responding to comments that people are leaving on my YouTube channel and on my Twitter and on my everywhere. Like, I just have so much going on social media wise that throwing in another thing that's just like with asshole guys, what's the point?
Yeah. For me, it's like I make the time for the right people, and like I can decide pretty quickly. Like if I go out with someone a second time, like that's a good sign. It's like okay, but like really, I just don't have the time. And I'm kind of upfront. I'm kind of hard. I'm like if I'm like I'll have one drink and like like, I'll give them 40, 45 minutes. I'll be like, okay, like, this is really nice, but I don't see this is going to go somewhere.
It's good to be very open about that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, I don't have time either. Like, I like to write, and I'm working on a lot of things with comedy and that kind of thing. So that's the most important thing. Like, that's the love of my life right now.
Yeah, right.
And, I don't know. It's just kind of fun. It's fun to be able to do that and not stress about it. And that's what I love about the city. It's like, I don't know. I feel like smaller towns, it's like everyone's like married with kids and like I've got a couple cousins or first cousins once removed, something like that, something weird like that. And my mom's cousins' kids, and they each have like 5 kids. And I'm like, they're like 26, 27. I'm like, how? Yeah. I mean, and they're adorable kids, and but the thing is, they wanted big families, and that's great.
Okay.
But I was like, oh my gosh, I could not imagine.
No, I'm still a kid. I can't have a kid. That's like kids having kids. I can't have a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that Aziz Ansari bit. Have you seen that?
No.
25-year-old having a kid. That's babies having babies.
Have not seen that.
I love him. I love his stuff. No. I like the way my life is. I just can't support that right now. I can't even support myself completely. So yeah.
Well, we're all learning how to do that stuff. So, well, I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about sleep stuff. So, what are your dreams like for the future, like hopes, dreams, kind of thing?
Like sleep goals? Or
No,
like...
no.
Hashtag a little bit about sleep
hashtag sleep goals. No. I meant your. I meant your.
I don't know. The way you introduced that, I thought you were okay. Yeah.
No. I meant like your dream, like your dreams for your career and future.
Okay,
and that
gotcha.
Thing. Metaphorical dreams, not the dreams you have at night.
We're all good. Well, the way my YouTube channel is set up right now is I made it kind of like, I started originally with the idea that it was a portfolio of mine to show I can do sketches, I can do interviews, I can do like a late night style monologue joke stuff. Like, I think, like, honestly, I'd be perfect for being a talk show host, and I would love to do that. That's definitely my dream. I would be very happy with, becoming a bigger YouTuber. That would be awesome. Just being able to survive off of, like, making money from videos that I make and things like that I enjoy, that I love to create, that's the goal.
Yeah. I mean, being able to survive off the art that we create is, I think, the goal for all of us. So that's definitely mine. Either just, writing and comedy, that kind of thing. That's cool, though. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we'll see. Now doing this, it's slow, and it's a war of attrition, and you just gotta keep moving forward.
And you just have fun with it. Like, I have fun with this stuff. It's silly, it's fun.
Yeah.
And
well, people see right through it if you're not.
Yeah.
If you're not genuine about your content, people see it.
Yeah.
And they don't want to watch it. So there's no point in putting up at something just to do it and, like, to have this. Yeah. I've never done that. So.
Yeah. Don't put something that you don't have your heart in,
Yeah. Because I'll see people doing that just to have something to put up, like, every week. And it's never any good. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel you. That's cool. Other than the obvious, what's your, like, favorite thing to do in bed?
I guess, like, eat and watch Netflix.
Eat and watch Netflix. Netflix and chill without the chill.
Hey, dude, I'm chilling. I got a pot of chili.
That's fun.
Did you see the thing with John Stamos from April Fool's?
No. Oh, no, I didn't see that. What was he? What was it?
Like, because they did a thing, like, human being. So he had this whole, like, fake trailer for a documentary on John Stamos. I'm not a human being. I'm a human being. And then, like, and it was great. And then they had someone put on YouTube, it was an unlisted video that then people put an article that nobody would have seen unless John Stamos himself had, like, tweeted it and been like, Netflix, how dare you not protect your talent? I'm not a joke. My career's not a joke. And so I looked, and it was this freak out that, like, a staged breakdown, I think. Like, at least I thought it was obviously a staged one because it's April Fool's.
Yeah.
Some people are like, no, like he went to rehab. That guy's like, but yeah. So anyway, but it's really funny. I just love it. The lady's like in the middle of his breakdown. Do you want the parking validation? It's like, I don't need your parking. Like, it just keeps like,
That's funny.
That means bullshit. That means bullshit. Like breaking down.
Oh man, I didn't do an April Fool's this year. I
did. I put up a video about like why I'm voting for Trump.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
I got so much hate on that thing. It was crazy.
That's
I was
funny.
like, first off, like the first half of the haters like were too dumb to get that it was a joke, and the second half of the haters were dumb enough that they vote for Trump. So
that's crazy. Like my biggest one was a couple years ago. There was a big lottery thing that happened right around April Fool's. So I bought a ticket that I had like a couple numbers that were similar but didn't win. So what I did was I photoshopped the ticket so that I didn't look like I won the whole thing. It looked like I won 5 numbers out of the 6.
Yeah.
So then that was like 200,000 or something like that. So I photoshopped that and then saved it on my phone like it was a picture I took with my phone.
Yeah.
And then I said, so I told my friends, I was like, hey, let's go celebrate. I just won this thing.
Yeah,
and like, hey, don't tell anybody. And it was like a thing. Like everyone totally believed me because the thing is it was 5 out of 6 numbers. It wasn't saying I won the whole lottery.
Yeah.
It was like that little bit. That's probably one of my favorites. That and then one time I had lunch with my ex. And we were on and off again for a bit. One time I had lunch with my ex and I was like, and it was on April Fool's. I was like, I need to tell you something. I met someone. Her name is Jennifer, and like I went through this whole thing. Like he believed me for at least I didn't tell him until like a couple hours later. I think
that's
like
ridiculous.
I totally had him going, which was kind of fun.
Awesome.
That was probably a really fun. But yeah, no. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I don't. Let's see. What I usually end is I usually say good night and we pretend to fall asleep.
Okay, cool.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
I'm Sarah Albritton. Thanks for listening to Sleeping with Sarah, where I slept with Vickie Eisenstein. Be sure to check out Vickie on YouTube. I'm releasing a new podcast each week. Be sure to tune in to find out who I have in bed with me next. Thanks to Josh Bryant for the music. You can also follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Until next time, good night.
Sleeping with Sarah.